preferences of the people who vote on this in Puerto Rico and elsewhere.
I'd like to open it up, and let me just note one thing that I think became clear. It's implicit in some of your discussions, and certainly became clear when we talked to people on the island, which is the trade-off between an expeditious resolution and full education of the ramifications of different options. And I won't just say legal ramifications, because I think there are the question of economic ramifications. Is there some process of development of information and then education that might be required or helpful prior to, whether in the form of a plebiscite, constitutional convention, take your pick, a decision actually being made. So I throw that into the mix for everyone, and I think down here in the first row. Yeah, these folks down in the first row had their hands up first, right down there.
Good afternoon once again. As I said, my name is Luis Vega Ramos. I'm a member of the House of Representatives, and I will be submitting for the record a 3-page statement of myself and 3 other members of the Puerto Rico House of Representatives. So I will take the opportunity to just summarize it now. And I also want to inform the task force that I had the privilege of being the only elected official that accompanied then Governor Aníbal Acevedo Vilá when he presented his position to the previous task force regarding the possibility of a political relationship between Puerto Rico and the United States in some form of enhanced association or Commonwealth. What I wish to convey in this brief comment is that the last-minute addition of the status quo amendment to H.R. 2499 does not correct that bill's fatal flaw. Now, for the members of my party, instead of having 3 alternatives that do not adjust to express wishes of the member of the Popular Democratic Party, we now have 4 alternatives that do not adjust to our wishes. So the only way to avoid the disenfranchisement of Popular Democratic Party supporters and an artificial stated win, which would be the consequence of H.R. 2499, would be to define an alternative that adjusts to the text of the Popular Democratic Party's current platform, which reads as follows, and I will briefly summarize the most important aspect, which means that the enhancement of Commonwealths should be based on the concept of sovereignty, and the platform says the following. Sovereignty means that a nation's ultimate power over its affairs resides with its people, its countrymen. The undertaking of the issue of Puerto Rico's political status should begin with the recognition that sovereignty rests with the people of Puerto Rico. The concept of Estado Libre Asociado Soberano, or sovereign Commonwealth, or sovereign free associated state, seeks that Puerto Rico and the government of the United States agree to specific terms that define the relationship between them, with U.S. citizenship as a bonding element of the political association. That effort will establish the extent of the jurisdictional powers of the people of Puerto Rico to authorized to have in the hands of the United States. We ask, formally, I ask with my colleagues, that the task force use the foreign PDP platform language of Estado Libre Asociado Soberano as a starting point as to what a non-territorial, sovereignty-based Estado Libre Asociado option could look like. And we believe, first of all, that, and that's the official position of all political parties in Puerto Rico, that the process, a serious process, has to be between sovereign, non-territorial alternatives. Nobody in Puerto Rico is asking for territorial alternatives, so the main problem with H.R. 2499 is that it puts the territorial alternative that nobody wants twice in those votes. Let's move on with sovereignty options. In the case of Estado Libre Asociado, as Professor Pildes says, there are ways to have a sovereign, non-territorial association that binds both Puerto Rico and the United States. There are precedents that could help us. We don't have to exactly fashion the Puerto Rico-U.S. relationship as to those precedents, but they can really be useful. So what we should be looking is a way to include, according to international law, according to U.S. constitutional law, and there are ways to do that. This middle ground that is not a state, that is not independence, and that is not a territory. And we certainly urge the task force to fashion that process and to do it quickly. As to the procedural matter, we are unsatisfied with the version of H.R. 2499 as it exists today and as it sits before the U.S. Senate. In our written statement, we'll give you specific reasons why, but we also are unsatisfied, or we wish to be satisfied at the end of this process, come October, this task force recommends a specific mechanism to deal with the status issue that is inclusive. Because if we don't, if the administration doesn't propose a mechanism to deal with this issue, sadly enough, we're going to have a local plebiscite in Puerto Rico, like the ones we had in 67, 93, and 98. And if we don't have a process that binds the administration and the Congress with responding to the results of whatever the people of Puerto Rico express as their preference, then we're just going to be condemned to have another beauty contest. So if you want to move this issue forward, I would strongly urge to clearly have it be put among non-territorial sovereignty-based options, and Estado Libre Asociado can be one of those options if we fashion it correctly and in tune with the Popular Democratic Party's platform. And secondly, that a mechanism to move this process on that binds the federal government is also suggested, because if not, we're going to be running around in circles. I have been coming to the federal government to ask for the redress of grievances for many years now, since Jeffrey Farrell was the head of the task force, and I was 20-some years old. I wish not to be here in my 60s.
Thank you.
And I don't know how old will Jeff be, but I hope we don't have to do it when I'm 60, okay. And some of you guys.
Let's try and hear from some other folks.
Thank you very much.
You got somebody back there too.
Want me to go forward?
Yeah, sure.
Good afternoon, members of the task force. My name is Jaime Areizaga Soto. I'm from Virginia. A couple of years ago, as a White House fellow at Treasury, I was indirectly involved in the task force before, and I want to commend the administration for having a serious task force. It was the last two task forces. Unfortunately, the results have been shameful. Members would come to the task force. The Justice Department would draft basically a task force, which, in my opinion, as an attorney, was not loyal to the law, indicating offensive and completely distortion from the law conclusions that Puerto Rico can't even be given over to China. So, and that was very disrespectful to many of us, including myself as an Army colonel. But in this case, so I want to commend you. I want to commend the President and Cecilia Munoz for bringing in the economic issue, because I really think the issue is the economy. The status is an issue, but the issue is the economy. With respect to the status, I have two things to bring in. One is, as was indicated, if you look at previous law already, at decisions of the Supreme Court, and I refer you to 452 U.S. 1, a 9-0 decision in 1982 by the United States Supreme Court, unanimous, stated Puerto Rico, like a state, it's an autonomous sovereign entity, an autonomous political entity, sovereign over matters not ruled by the Constitution. And that case was nowhere to be found in the last two task force reports. Last but not least, remember, this is not only about Puerto Rico. As recent as 1976,
really focusing on looking towards the future and what kind of training we can provide that will match what these other departments are doing in terms of the ability to attract investment, so that we're training the workforce for the future in areas like green jobs, possibility for health care, allied health, etc. We toured along with everyone and received a lot of really interesting information from regional municipalities and regions, and municipalities, specifically around their interests, because we need to hear from you what you think, where the island can go and what kind of investments can be made, and how we can also better leverage our resources as we move forward. So everything from infrastructure we heard, and as well as issues like tourism and ecotourism. So it's all looking forward. Should I open it up?
Hello, everybody. I'm from Puerto Rico. My name is Cristobal de Rios. I'm an actor. I'm not a politician. But we dedicate most of our time to educate our people about what's going on these alternatives where we are looking for. I appreciate of every one of you are here, talking and trying to resolve Puerto Rican problem. But I was hearing something, and we have been studying this for so many years. I think 12 or 14 years, asking from every agency of the United States, from the Congress, from the Department of Justice, and from the tax force, you know, all information. And what I found that nobody in Puerto Rico represents the territory. Nobody represents the territory. The enhanced Commonwealth is not a territory. The free association is not the territory. So, constitutionally only have three: statehood, independence, or the territory. But in Puerto Rico, nobody defends the territory. So what we're looking for, if we are going to do something to resolve our status in Puerto Rico, got to be with two. Only formula. That's independence and statehood. That's it. There's nothing more. That's on the jurisdiction of the United States. That's it. It is constitutionally. Popular Democrats don't represent the territory. Nobody represents the territory. It's right there, but nobody represented it. Everybody wants to change the territory. And when they say something about creating a new formula, like an enhanced Commonwealth, that's another thing. That's not a territory. And that is unconstitutional. That's unconstitutional. What that was proved on 2000, October 4, 2000, on the hearing on the Congress, on the Camera. Project H.R. 4751. Unconstitutional. I remember your word. I remember very much your word. That's it. Don't look for, you know, we are looking for something that do not exist. That can be probably, got any probability. For example, they talk about free association. Free association is independence. If you want a free association, you got to vote for independence first. So then, after you know, have your independence, you negotiate with the United States, with the Congress. How come we are going to take the people of Puerto Rico? You know, we have in the ballot the free independence. They don't know what is that. You know, that's confusing. You know, people of Puerto Rico is very, 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 very confusing. Every day, some people, some guy, you know, shoot with something like new.